Hello, I'm
Hello.
happy to welcome the choreographer Jérome Bel for this online talk in the program Danse, Elle, part of the project Tempus Fugit. Jérôme, thank you very much for this beautiful and poetic piece. And my first question would be, what provoked you most in the autobiographical book of Isadora Duncan to create this tribute to the pioneer of modern dance?
Well, I didn't know so well the work. I had a very not bad, but very simple representation of Isadora's work, which was a kind of somebody very light and floral and girly maybe and Greek. But then when I read the book, I realized she was much articulated, very educated, very much into philosophy and things like this. So suddenly I was like, I did a mistake. So I started to make some research about the dances, and there, of course, I found things which were related to this ambition, artistic ambition and vision of dance, and criticizing ballet and the past and the need for new forms. So suddenly I fell in love. I fell in love with her, and I said, "Wow, I should bring this new vision that I have on stage, and like articulating some, really, my point was to put together some autobiographical things, events that she describes in the book, and some of the dances, because that's what I'm obsessed with as a choreographer myself. Why do you do things? Why do you produce art? Why do you produce new forms? So this is the story of this production.
And what do you think in this performance and in the personality and in the dance styles of Isadora Duncan would resonate most with the contemporary viewer in your perspective?
I didn't know what to expect because it happened 100 years ago nearly. I had some fascination for it. I think the piece of Isadora is more a critique of contemporary state of dance. From my point of view, my critique would be that contemporary dance became a kind of what I know from contemporary dance here in France and in Western Europe is a kind of I think we're going through a kind of academism. It's formally better and better, and I think it's empty and emptiest. That's my feeling. And Isadora, on the contrary, is bringing meaning really into the expression. Doesn't really care about dance, about the forms. She's not very interested in the fame and the money that can dance bring her. She believes that dance is more a way of living. It's a practice that can make people better. This is very ambitious. And also, I have to say, because we did the show recently in Lausanne and in Brussels, and it was like a year we couldn't do it. So it made me think a lot. What I think I was interested to represent was the fact that politically she's not, she's very involved, and she believes in changes. And probably that's what attracted me. I think our present historical moment is very cynical, and to see this woman and embracing the causes and dancing them with all the, in a way, naivety that we could judge from our present time, made me love it. And I think I needed to, myself personally, to find a different role model. Even it happened 100 years ago. She's embodying something which is very, very, I think that at least I needed it, because I went also through a big crisis myself. I mean, political crisis about, that's why we're here talking, because it's very difficult for us to go and perform in Sofia. We don't take plane anymore for ecological reason. And so to the fact that I've decided not to take planes anymore, which was a very radical decision and dangerous for my own art and life, let's say, she gave me the courage to take the decision, because I was working on her at the same time. So involvement, political involvement, beliefs helped me to, as always, to make choices, because I do believe that art helps you to draw your own life. I mean, that's what I did for 40 years.
Yes, your words somehow relate to three things in my head. One is beauty. So you're in a kind of a search for beauty, for substance, for meanings, and for political engagements. So several questions could evolve starting from this point of reference. But first, let me ask you, where do you recognize beauty and meaning in contemporary dance? And is it partly the answer of the question, why do you revisit historical pieces and iconic figures from the dance canon? Because you don't find these places of meaning and substance and values in the contemporaneity, meaning in society and maybe in dance?
Well, there are some artists which are doing this today. Thanks God. Otherwise, I would stop right away. But to do it for myself, especially in a moment where I was down in a way, I was like, what am I doing here with this cultural world which doesn't care about climate change? They go on the same, especially because I belong to a kind of international jet set where we go to Tokyo for 2 days and so on. And I was like suddenly, and I loved this life I had. I mean, and all those meetings and all those travels were so powerful and interesting. But suddenly this life was not accurate anymore. For me, it couldn't go on, because I've done this for 30 years, but times has changed. And we're supposed to be the contemporary arts. We're supposed to give representation of today's reality. And suddenly today's reality was different for me. And I said, well, I have to change my way of life. And this was so difficult. So I was suddenly, as I said, Isadora, I was embodying this kind of life and character that I should identify myself. Your question is about politics and meaning. Beauty is a difficult thing for me to deal with until now. It's great that I use Isadora, because this is beautiful. This is beautiful because this is very simple. She's not destroying dance, even though at the time people thought she was destroying, because she was nearly naked and doing whatever, dancing on music that nobody was dancing on at the time. So she was a pioneer, a revolutionary. But now, 100 years after, it looks like very, very harmonious. So it's very nice because the audience is enjoying very much the dances. Because for example, it's a very simple thing. She's dancing on the music. Now it's forbidden to dance on the music. I mean, it would be like very old-fashioned. But the fact that she does it, it's okay because it's 100 years ago. So it's a way for me to seduce the audience in a way. And also probably I had to be, at that time where I worked on her, as I said, I was not feeling so good. I had to be seduced. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. But, and that's why she's a great artist, because she's using this beauty to, not for herself, to deal with very, very big questions, very strong feeling, kind of tragedy. I think she's a big artist. And that's why I wanted to bring her back to the dance exchanges, bring her back to today's and see what people could think about her and how much is she interesting.
Yes, and she brought this new notion of the idea of freedom and also of the idea of beauty, as you said, and it was no longer associated with the beauty of the classical dance, where it is connected to the perfection,
totally,
virtuosity, and its authenticity. With her, it's about authenticity and presence and soul, transferring the soul, actually, which is a new thing. Was a new thing.
I don't know ballet, but what I'm interested is that she emancipates body from the prison of ballet, of course, and she emancipates herself as a dancer and also as a woman. You know, all those processes are very, very important for me. Emancipation is what we stand for. Because I feel that that's a problem of dance. Dance is a mechanism of alienation. Very, very few people are able to re-question this. We lost one recently who was Anna Halprin. And Anna Halprin is really, American choreographer who worked mainly in San Francisco, and she was experimental and teaching a lot, and also a lot in the 70s. So, which was in California in the 70s was something probably to live in this context, where she tried with dance to emancipate as much as she can all the dancers and the audience, which was not easy because people were complaining a lot. But the learning of dance is problematic. It's problematic because if you want to become a professional dancer, you have to start very young. And when you're young, you don't have the tools to resist or to question. And then it's too late. For example, and dancers are like prisoners in their in what they've learned. And a few people like Isadora try to break those rules. And as I mentioned before, she was more interested into schools, you know, which is very strong. I think it's a very strong point. She was not interested in the representation, but in the practice.
You have a particular interest to approach dance through the narrative and ethos of personalities of concrete choreographers and dancers such as this one. What new facet do you think this approach brings to dance? And is it exactly the crack in the artifice that you're searching for in maybe all of your work? And what do you call the truth, actually?
Well, I don't think I mentioned the truth.
Not here, but in your last performance lecture.
Yeah.
several years ago, you're talking about one classical dancer. You went to a classical ballet in the Paris Opera, and one of the dancers just stumbled, and you were wondering why the audience was applauding this solo the most, though this was the one that failed actually. And what you answered to yourself was maybe because the truth was revealed, maybe because there was a crack in the artifice. It's my formulation, but
absolutely, you're right. But this is very precise about ballet, because ballet is absolutely fake. Everybody's smiling like this. They look all stupid, and because they lost totally the truth. They lost they lost what art is. This is a repetition of the same with the alienation I was mentioning before about learning in ballet. It's a nightmare. I worked with those people. That's why I was there. I was like, oh my God, they were puppets, not artists. You know, they were workers, specialist workers of dance. They were not artists or even, I'm not going human beings. They're machines. And this story I was mentioning comes from the dramaturg Heiner Müller, who said that audience is coming to the theater because they hope to see the performer dying.
Yeah.
And I thought this was very strong, because that's the only place of today's representation where you can see the performer die. I mean, you will see it in cinema, you will see a lot of people dying, of course, but we know it's fake. And if it would be real, if something happened during a shooting, like Marilyn Monroe is dying, really dies, they will cut. They won't show us. And in the theater, that's the only place, because we know it's alive. So if it's alive, maybe death will appear. And I think that's what happened when people clapped a lot, because in a way, they could see something which was closer to death. I would say more real than true. But it's true. No, but you're right. It's a truth. At one point, there is a truth. The dancer is trying to make it like, he's producing the fiction. Yeah, that's a fiction. He's producing the fiction, and he's trained for that, and he worked a lot, and he's paid for that. And suddenly, something is wrong. It goes like this in the middle of the fiction. So we go back to real. That's what we want to see. I mean, I want to see real things, because I know real things are stronger, and they're real. That's why they're more valuable. Fiction is a way to represent the reality. So probably what I've done those last years with those dancers, for example, who are talking about their life, is closer to the reality, because they tell their name, for example. Usually they are a character. They are a swan, or they are a princess, especially if we talk about ballet. And I was using the opposite. She was, they say the name, they represent the backstage. They represent the realness of their life. Yeah, you're right. This is something I try to do. I'm interested probably in Isadora it's by chance that she wrote this biography, so in a way it was real, but in fact we know that the biography is a fiction. And so at one point I was like, okay, am I going to read all the books who are criticizing biography? Because she said in 2013, I am in Rome and I'm doing this show, and then some people it's full of scholars saying, no, she was not in Rome. No, she was in Madrid. So I said, am I going to try to catch the real thing? I said, no, I'm going just to keep on what she wanted to say, which I accept the fiction of her own autobiography. I remember this was a choice, but this could be for me the real, what she wants to that we read.
And you're interested in the ontology of dance as a stage art which is not subject to reproduction. So you explore the impossibility of reproduction, and yet you do revisit historical pieces and iconic figures like Isadora Duncan. So how do you solve this friction between the belief that dance is not reproducible and the revisiting of the past? So what do you find in this space in between? What is your conceptual approach in this gap?
The reproduction is something, it's something I hate. I mean, no. I hate, sorry. I hate the idea of authenticity. That I do it so it's mine and nobody can do the same. I think this is absurd. I think it's kind of capitalism. You keep the things, you make it rare, they get more value.
Like the original, you mean?
Yeah. This is like stupid, and but it's a lot of it's a lot of the ideology we dance, absolutely. So this is a real problem. As a performer myself, I know that I can't reproduce exactly the same one night after the other. Every time I dance something, it will be different. So there is no originality. There is like, what happens tonight? So that's why I really, my work was based to destroy this question. Then what is the other part you were?
About the revisiting of historical pieces.
Yeah, this is related, of course. This is related because, for example, in Isadora Duncan, it's not Isadora Duncan on stage. It is, no, but the people would say, oh, this is a copy. It is not good. But so that's what happened in the present, let's say. In a company, you know that the premiere will be the original cast, and in a big company, the opening will be the best cast, and the second they would be the less good cast. I mean, these are these kind of things it was clear with Isadora Duncan that it was not her. That's why I emphasize in the piece the question of the transmission. This is so rare to have the possibility to have some dancers who are linked to Isadora through, I think like it's 3 generations for Elizabeth. This daughters, so 1st generation, Julia. Yeah, 3rd generation, Elizabeth. But Elizabeth is already 70. So something is missing in dance is the transmission. We have by chance, the Duncan is still there, the Duncanian style. I mean, the choreography even not there. Because first, Duncan was very interested in transmission, education. And then also, I think because the dances are kind of easy, not too complicated. So you can see it possible for you. You can also work like Elizabeth for 40 years on it, because of course you can work on this gesture for 100 years. This is no problem, we know that. But the fact that it was also a lot of solos, so you don't need so much money to do it. I mean, or you can do it by yourself. Also, I think there is no more copyright. I think this is great also, because we can do whatever we want. You don't need to ask. So it's also kind of possession, originality, capitalism. You keep the things for yourself and you're the author. Here it's like spread, which is the idea of the copyrights. The copyrights for, I don't know, I mean, in France, it's 70 years after the death of the author. And the beauty of I mean, it's a beauty and not a beauty, but at least after 70 years, it belongs to everyone. So meaning it becomes culture. It becomes, those artworks are yours. And this is very beautiful. I couldn't have done this with Trisha Brown.
Yeah.
I would love to do this because she's fabulous, but the company would protect Trisha's legacy and would say, no, and would ask money, and I wouldn't be free with the fact that there is no more copyrights on Isadora Duncan. I was very free. So the question of history is very important because we lack history of dance. Because dance are disappearing until, let's say, the 80s, where the little camera started. It's changed. Now everything has changed because of the cameras. But until now, it's not like painting or literature where they have like works from 100 years, and they can relate and they can learn from it. They can push forward the discovery of the elders. In dance, we don't. So I was one of the first one to be obsessed with, because I know I like very much to know where I come from. If you want to design or the future or try to push forward, you need to know what is behind. You cannot only in the front. You need to see the future, the present, and the past. Every time I found a possibility to deal with history, I jump on it.
And what do you think you discovered during the work with Elizabeth Schwartz about the dance style of Isadora Duncan? What is the most subtle things or the most difficult things to capture or to learn or to execute? Because it seems very easy, and though it's very complex.
Yeah, it's very complicated, in fact, which was a disappointment for me because I was like, cool, but she was doing it, and but she did for 40 years. So it was like a ready-made. I'm mentioning Duchamp, but it was like I found her. I said, oh, this is perfect. Of course, she'd been working for 40 years. And then watching her doing it again and talking, I said, oh my God, this is so complicated. It's like, I was like, no. So this was a very big disappointment. No, what I learned, which was, the most interesting experience was that it's not only the past that we see, but it's also, we see 30 years of work. It's like an exhibition. It's like about an artist. So we see early works. In 1 hour, we see works from the beginning of the 90s until 1921. Let's say, so it's 20 years. So it's like a kind of retrospective of an art life. And what I was fascinated by was how she evolves. Gestures became more complex, the composition becomes more complex, the depth of the woman, the ambition of the woman to embrace the experience of life, of course, which are changing her, push her to places where she would never go when she was 20, you know. Mm-hmm. So this is very moving for me. It's very rare. We wouldn't, even with Pina Bausch, we would never see that in one evening, because the works are like, every work 3 hours, 4 hours. So we wouldn't put them all together and see a kind of unfolding an artistic project. Here, with the fact that she's doing very small, very short works, we can see it's like really a museum. When you see paintings, you stay. If the painting is very good, stay 2 minutes, rarely more. And then you go and see, and it's a retrospective of painter. And even you don't like the painter, it's interesting because you see the work. What is how he or she discovers things, changes. I love that. So it was very beautiful for me to see that, the simplicity, and then starting to be more complex, and how she was using music in a different way, and being, it seemed, freer and mature, and it's and unfortunately she died when she was 50. We could have imagined further things, but that's the way it is.
The empty stage is a feature that has become emblematic of your work, and we see this empty space in this performance as well. Simple actions, few props and costumes. What interest lies behind this choice?
Well, I mean, regard to Isadora Duncan was also with an empty stage. She had only a blue backdrop, and probably because we don't know this yet, probably because she had this relation with a daughter with Gordon Craig, who is this theoretician, theoretician, and he was standing for simplicity. So I don't know if influenced her or if she does. I don't know this, but so I had no problem, because I represent more or less what was happening in the theater. My choice, which has been made 30 years ago now, well, I had no money first. I worked with no money in the beginning, so I don't know why I would. I mean, I couldn't afford for things. I knew that the most important was the performers. I was interested by what happened in the performer more than the visuality of the stage. It's different reasons why. Also, and then it became, I started to tour internationally, and if I would have things to carry, it would slow down the tours, because we have to bring the thing there and then back. With the people, you can change in one day. I'm always like waiting for objects and props. I would love to say welcome to them in my work, but no. And especially now with ecological problems, it's more complex to produce objects, because what are you doing after? And especially the show is not touring and nobody's seeing, you stay with the props and the costumes, and you don't know what to do with them. So I'm fine with this. What I know, at one point I said to myself that I prefer to have more performers on stage than a beautiful set. A body is always for me more complex and moving than any set. So I always prefer to have somebody else, because it brings a richness to the work that no set will do for me. more interested in human motion and imaginary and presence. Yeah, exactly. Then I don't know if maybe the mug is more interesting than me. I don't know. I can speak. I can smile.
It brings a bit more theatricality when you bring the mug and you have a setting, so it's something else, maybe. And you'd like to strip down the theatricality the most. So.
Right. I like minimalism. I like I will think about the mug. Next show, the mug. You find the title.
And you're also interested in the audience in a particular way. It's very important for you to empower the audience, to emancipate the audience, to have them as conscious, active viewers which perceive consciously.
Yeah, I want the audience to know that they're having their parts. They are part of the apparatus of the theater. No theater without audience watching performers. I want them to be aware of what they're doing and not to forget that they're watching a show. So they always have to be aware of this, not to forget, because this is very well done by Hollywood. And I thought that if we want the theater to be productive, we need to bring a different experience. I always question at one point the audience, probably because I'm still a spectator. I see a lot, and I always say that if I would be rich, I would not do works. I would just pay for a ticket and watch performances, because I think this is the best place in the apparatus of the theater. Mm-hmm. I've been sitting in the darkness of theaters. I've been through some of the most intense moments in my life, making experiences of my body, sometimes of my mind, of course, but sometimes of my body, who was feeling totally different, or where I was thinking things which I would never think before. So I'm interested when the artworks brings me to new spaces, to new experiences. A lot of the tradition of the theater is to go back to, especially music, for example, to recognize something, and you enjoy recognizing the same symphony by Mozart, for example. I'm not interested at all by this. I'm interested in making the experience of something I don't know, and that's why, for example, I go mainly to see contemporary music, because things I don't know at all, and I'm just like, what? This is possible to hear this noise, and I love that. I love to hear a new sound, even it's strange, but I feel always going through through a new experience. I don't know if I'm directing the audience, but no, I don't. I hope I don't direct the audience, hopefully, but I want to tell them, hey, you're the audience, and this is super important. It's incredible. It's not usual. It shouldn't be usual. You shouldn't be there sitting and knowing that you will be bored, which happens a lot in the theater, because I mean the means are so poor and the competition is so big with internet and cinema and television, whatever. So I just try to tell them, this is special. This is, and you are part of it. And that's the only place where you're part of it. Because if you leave, for example, or if you start to scream, we will have to stop. I mean, I'm talking from the stage side. If something happened in you, we will have to stop or we will have to react. People should feel that. They should always feel that. It's not the same in the cinema where you can die, the film will go on. They won't stop the film. I mean, if somebody dies as an audience. So this is one reason why, I did this show called The Show Must Go On. Because still in the present time, theater offers something different. Even it looks like cinema, even it looks like watching films, it's different. Even here we are, you showed the audience the film, which is very, very unusual. I like the film very much, and I have no problem to watch films. I do this in museums most of the time. But maybe the talk, we should have done it live. I don't know if it's not interesting that I would be live from Paris, of course. Here we recorded it, and it's a pleasure to do that. Yeah. It's the first time we do that, so I'm questioning. Maybe I have to do this with you. You have to tell me how the people react. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
Why do we come in a theater to see some? And then stupid director talking about his sessions. But maybe, and it makes sense. It makes sense that Isadora Duncan is dead, so we can imagine to make a show. I mean, to show the video of the thing, and then to talk live. I mean, I'm really thinking today about all this
the concept.
The technology,
I like it.
And the fact that it's really hard for me to come to Sofia because we couldn't find any trains and tours around, because that's what we do. We organize tours now, but maybe
in the future we can.
No. I'm taking everything. I mean, because of the pandemic, so many things happen. It makes me think a lot of how can we perform differently.
How do you think it will impact the world, the awareness? The pandemia thing, I mean, do you think it will impact the way people tour, especially in the dance environment? They go to places for just one show, perform, and then go back. Do you think it will really have an impact, or we will go back to the normal?
I don't know, some will change. The youngest, I think. The youngest are like getting a little bit aware. But the old, like me, all my generation, they don't. So I'm waiting for all the old ones to die, and change, and that the youth will change the situation. I hope. That's my feeling. Yeah? People are very, very. Impossibility to change their way of life. I don't know why. Because they're the contemporary. I'm not even talking about the conservative. I'm talking about the people who are inventing things, the so-called contemporary. But they cannot imagine a different way, which is normally our goal to adapt and to invent and to be in, as I said before, to be in connection with the reality today's time. I don't understand.
Maybe one last question.
Yes.
About the politicality of your work. I would say that it is implicitly political, especially if we refer to the notion and the definition of the philosopher Jacques Rancière about the political act, which is the one which redistributes the sensible the political act which brings to light new spaces and new places of meaning, different from the ones produced and made usually sensible by the societal structures and hierarchy orders. So where do you think the socio-political agency of contemporary dance resides? And do you think that it's a democratic field that legitimizes bodies and people which are usually overlooked in society or marginalized? And you have been doing this in your work.
Yeah, I do. My politics were mainly first criticizing my own field. I based my critique on the critique of dance. I was talking about the alienation. I was talking about, no, I didn't talk yet about the standardization of the bodies. And that's why I used, recent years, I worked a lot with disabled people. Disabled people are seen dancing. People paid for that. And people are shocked, of course, because dance should be, from their perspective, something super beautiful and energetic and better than what they can do, So dance, even contemporary dance, has a lot of problems. You know, so thanks to Jacques Rancière, but also Michel Foucault and all those people, I managed to deconstruct how the dance field, dance history was built. My main politics is this: to play with expectation, the canon of what dance is, and to destroy them, and not to destroy them, because otherwise they would not. I wouldn't be presented on stages. I have to subvert them. I have to be like, okay, this is dance. Here we make a little step aside, and it's a precision. And some people understand what I'm doing, so they leave the audience, or some. Say, what's going on here? And then they understand. Politics, yeah, it's dance. It's by itself very unfair.
Mm-hmm.
You have always physical possibilities, and the others who can't. So they're not accepted. So this is absolutely unbearable for me. I had to invent some structures. You know, you cannot say only it's very bad, it's very bad. You have to find solutions. And then the show has to be interesting. Like, for example, Gala, this piece, 2015, is a kind of utopia. I mean, people who can't dance, really. Some of them. I mean, can't dance well as expected, you know? And I put them on stage, big theaters. And at the end of the show, people have enjoyed it, have understood, they have the pleasure of that. Even in the beginning, it was not sure, because those people cannot even make a turn, which is one of the easiest, not easiest, but one of the necessary step of dance, which is turn on yourself. And they can't do that, they fall. And you just, what? I paid 24 euros and somebody's falling because he can't dance. So, no, and then at the end of the day, with different, new structures, those people who cannot turn, where could be perceived at the end of the experience, which was 1 hour and 15 minutes, as dance. Yeah, you have to invent new methodology, new structures, structures which are accepting things.
We'll produce a gala later in the year in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
Audition.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be great.
It's a very, very important piece for me.
I love the show.
Yeah, we have to do it. We have to find a way. And yeah, and there nobody's traveling. It's made with Sofia citizens. It would be great. We have to find the right theater. Okay.
We work on this.
Yeah. We wait. Don't worry. We're not in a hurry. Gala is for ages.
Thank you very much, Jérome.
You're welcome. Thanks to you.
And thank you for you.
And you give me feedback, okay?
Sure. And thank you for your art.
Because,
Don't mention it.
No. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you for your questions.
And thank you for your contribution. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.